Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease. Score!
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode. An episode with all four of us for the first time, and I couldn't tell you how long.
Been a minute.
It's like the Beatles getting back together, man. This is epic.
Still hate you, John.
Yeah, so we've got, Paul and John here. Hoagie being Paul. They hated each other, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
We're just going to create the animosity there, yeah.
Have you noticed that this little ticker thing is broken up here? It says we've been live for 5 minutes and 24 seconds already.
That's just on your end, buddy.
That's on your end.
Yeah, I got a minute 30. We're good.
I was just about to compare Hoagie to George Harrison, like the Forgotten Beatle, but anyways.
Usually the case.
The Beatle, the group could completely do without.
I wasn't going to go that far, but
okay.
My name is Derek.
Oh, and I'm John. How's it going, everybody?
And Hoagie.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And Casey.
Hey, I'm actually a little bit confused on how we're letting John get away with this shirt and not saying anything. Because what is that?
Check out my
six pack.
PBR.
PBR.
Old
there.
What a
We
guy.
call those guinea teas, John.
They're not, though. It's not a guinea tee. It's a tank top. And it's summertime, and I went to the beach.
Dude,
Honestly, I'm surprised there's not
naughty
Bud Light
man.
on that for you, John.
Did you bring your kayak? Were you kayaking in that thing?
No kayaking today.
No kayaking
today.
For our loyal listeners, John is wearing just a ridiculous looking tank top that has no
What's
business.
ridiculous about it? Because it's sleeveless and you're getting a little jelly.
A little bit.
Yeah, you just had to pan the camera down so everybody could see you. You little chunk shimmy.
Yes, I got it.
Truffle shuffle here.
Beefcake.
Yeah, buddy. Well, so I've been going to the gym and I've been feeling pretty good about myself.
It
Right?
looks like it.
I was telling Hoagie I had the stomach bug last week.
Ooh, so you're feeling good now.
Dropped another 10 pounds.
Good for you, man.
No, dude, I looked like Captain America before he was Captain America. I was like the skinny CGI looking thing going on. I was like, oh my
This is
God.
exactly what he texted me too the other day. It's like, dude, I dropped 170 pounds. I look like Captain America.
Drop 170 pounds, but
But then did you go the opposite direction? You're like, no, what? I deserve a couple meatballs.
you see me at dinner. I'm just like, oh,
Gotta bulk up.
you think I'd have been, sent away the past few years. The way that I eat.
Oh, boy.
Jesus. All right. Well, do you think we should get to some hockey talk? Maybe. Yeah. No.
Off-season banter. Let's go.
There was some notable hires in the Flyers front office while John was gone here, and we had the chance to discuss Provorov being traded away. So we'll get into that here. We'll get into what we're looking at with the draft coming up, as well as some tendered qualifying offers for some of the Flyers and for the other guys getting the boot out the door. But first and foremost, biggest story probably since we last spoke is the hires of two gentlemen, former Flyers, former players, former pretty damn good players. Patrick Sharp is now part of the front office, as well as John LeClaire.
Johnny Vermont.
And everyone is upset because they're both former Flyers, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Besides the point. So, John, since you missed all of last week, I guess you got some words that you'd like to speak here. So
Keep it to a minute.
Yeah, you're on the clock.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. I don't have much to say except for the Patrick Sharp former Flyer thing really makes me chuckle because he played, 60 games with the team?
66,
Yeah. I mean, I think they're exciting additions to the team. They both come with very respectable reputations. I think it's interesting on the Sharp side of things, where he was also in broadcasting in the media. So I feel like he's brought in some interesting connections. And, with like Leclerc, he's just been around the league forever. I understand that lazy mentality where it's like, well, the Flyers are just going back to people they're familiar with, but doesn't that make sense? Like, wouldn't you bring on people that you have a better idea of what they can bring to the table? And I also question whether that's actually the case with Patrick Sharp, but without knowing anything about what they can actually do in the position, because I don't think either of them have held a position like this. I'm excited.
What are they? They're
Special advisors to hockey ops.
Right. And I know at least with Sharp, it's mainly player development. Right. And like for him, he was somebody where it was patience. He didn't, he wasn't he wasn't a star right away. So I think that's kind of the mentality that we need with this rebuild. But I'm excited because this is truly now a brand new era.
Mm-hmm.
Error.
Okay.
Give him 5 years.
All right,
John. School's been out for like a week, and you can't even string his sentence together.
Stomach bug, man. Really, it was an error.
All right, Hoagie, your thoughts on these hires here, then?
Yeah, I'm kind of with John. I'm under the impression that it's exciting. Yes, they're ex-Flyers, but Patrick Sharp is not really an ex-Flyer.
Under the impression that it's exciting. What does that
John,
mean?
I don't miss you. I don't miss you.
Okay,
but no, I like it. It's everybody keeps drumming on the ex-Flyer thing, and I think it's good because they're not that removed from like the NHL and their playing days. I mean, Leclerc, yeah, it's been a while, but like he's not the old time hockey player that we all know with the Clarks in the homeroom. So I'm excited for it. I'm actually kind of shocked by Patrick Sharp because he's just not someone that I thought would be interested in that type of role. But I mean, like John said, he has the connections through through broadcasting. So I think that'll be super helpful with Jonesy's role as well.
Now, I could be off base here. I don't think Jonesy and Sharp were part of the same network when they were broadcasting, were they?
Well, I think they both did NBC Sports.
NBC?
Yeah, I think they did NBC. Yeah.
Do you think that had something to do with this? Maybe Jonesy's connection with him through NBC broadcasting?
I would imagine so at this point, right?
I don't know, man. You look at it, and you now have Tortorella, who was in broadcasting. You have Jones, who was broadcasting. You have Sharp, who was in broadcasting. I'm not knocking it at all. I think it just brings a different perspective in that, like, yes, we have Danny B and Rick Flair,
Rick Flair,
and Johnny Vermont, and those are hockey guys, and they're definitely Philly guys. And with Torts, Keith, and Sharp, they're just gonna have a more panoramic view of like modern day hockey and more connections around the league. And I know we kind of beat this drum to death with the Jonesy hire, but I think the media thing is gonna help. And so. I also look at somebody like Leclerc, who I was just looking up quickly while you guys were talking. He still has lived in Haverford for, he spends his time in Haverford and somewhere in Vermont. And, the guy is a Flyers All-Star. He's a USA Hockey All-Star. I mean, he was, I think, my second jersey behind Recchi. And I think I still have the Leclerc jersey. So, like, I'm going to bring that sucker out of retirement.
Right.
But then I realized it's an XL. I'm 5'7". Like, it's an XL. It's like,
attaboy.
It's like
Keep eating, John. Keep eating.
I'm like a kindergartner wearing my dad's shirt at Arkansas.
Just send that over here in 2 weeks, man. I'll be able to rock it.
I find it intriguing too because like with Sharp's more hands-on approach, it seems to be with some of these players. Like you get a guy in Sharp who did battle through some adversity early on in his career, ended up getting traded, and then ended up burgeoning into a star essentially. Mm-hmm. So he can preach from that perspective to some of these younger guys, maybe like a Noah Cates, maybe even, I mean, to an extent, you could say a Sanheim. Because struggling right now. But again, as we all know, defensemen take a little bit more time. But he can give them perspective as to what he went through, help these guys maybe get over the hump and become I'm not going to say potential stars, but like become better. With Leclerc, with Leclerc, God, you've got a guy who was a bona fide all-star who can work with the guys who should be bona fide all-stars and help them maybe take that next step. Guys like maybe a Konechny in another year or two, maybe a Forrester. You know, you get a different perspective from a different type of player. And I think he might not be as hands-on as Sharp, but regardless, he's involved with the team in some capacity. So you know he's going to be interacting with the players.
You know, true story. I skated with John Leclerc one time.
Oh, yeah.
He got married at my high school, and you weren't allowed to do that unless you were an alum or directly associated with the school. But he's John Leclerc. So we're like, hey, you have to skate with our hockey team. Then we'll let you and your wife get married.
So he's sitting there. Married at your high school?
It's a beautiful high school, I will say.
Right.
But he just sat there ripping slap shots at these poor high school goalies and just gun. And this is like 98 maybe. So like, you know, he was legit powerhouse back then.
So can you speak to how he is as a developmental coach then? Because
Pepper the hell out of goalies.
Yeah,
high school goalies.
He's got a good shot.
You'll learn one day.
Yep.
Lest we forget as well, I mean, since we last recorded, Val Camillo is no longer with the Flyers organization also. I mean, general thoughts on that? Kind of strange timing to me, but
I feel like it is strange timing because I don't think that was in the plan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have rolled her out with the rest of the leadership 2 weeks ago.
I think she got pigeonholed. I think that like she just felt that there was going to be nowhere to climb up.
Right.
And she probably just was given a better opportunity somewhere else.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And good for her. I've listened to a few of her things. Like I thought everybody wants to, you know, douse the fire. I thought she was all right. I didn't think she was, you know, incredible by any means, but I thought she was all right for the team.
She started to clean up her own mess.
Yeah, she was marketing. You know, she was on that side of things. So she was tasked with the image of the team, and the image of the team right now is not great. So,
right. And can I be honest with you? Like, I know it's
would you be anything else?
Well, true, but I mean, I know that we need to talk about these things, but I really don't care. Like, I'm not gonna. Once we get into the hockey season, I'm not gonna be like, yo, where the hell's John Leclerc? Why don't I hear from this guy?
People will say that though. That's the annoying part of it.
Why isn't he making himself available to the media? Like,
yeah, they've got to go have kids or something because
rocks.
Here's another thing I was thinking about. So you have Sharp, Leclerc, Briere, then you have LaPerriere, and you have Jason Smith, who was, believe it or not, a one-time captain of the Flyers. That's a pretty gritty group of friggin' ex-players.
And Jonesy, too. Yeah.
And Jonesy.
And a lot of air there, too.
Aaron
Perrier, Briere, LaPerriere,
Leclerc.
But, you know, that's a lot of grit running through multiple generations there. And so I think that's kind of cool. And it's like going from the, you know, AHL in-game coaching to player development and all that sort of stuff. You know, at least it's a good footprint and a hold of the past without being like, hey, it's 1975. We're still into this, right? Like, you know, we're still into Schlitz and beer bottoms.
But just like when it comes down to when the hockey season starts, the only people who aren't on the ice we're going to be talking about are John Tortorella and Danny Briere.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
The rest of this isn't going to matter.
One guy's coaching the team, the other one's putting the pieces in place.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. But regardless, I mean, interesting hires. I think you really are starting to see the mold of this team take shape. And I think that with those guys in place, you've got a solid nucleus up top that your younger players are going to look up to because, I mean, hell, how many of these guys do you think idolized a guy like John Leclerc back in the day?
Funny.
Right? My mom is a huge John Leclerc fan.
Yep.
Like, favorite player ever.
He was the Giroux of, like, you know, he was like the Giroux Simmons of that era, but much better, you know.
You know what I just thought of too? Remember when all of this started, where we're like, who's going to be the new group, and all of these names by all the national people were thrown out. The only one anybody got right was Danny Briere.
Right. The lowest hanging fruit,
like by default.
Like none of these names are even mentioned.
Well, they're going to bring in Kyle Dubas, you know.
Chris Borger is going to come in to be a typist.
Well, he was one that was brought up for the GM position.
was.
Right?
And Eric, well,
Yeah.
like the VP, whatever or something, but like Eric Lindros too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing is it's very clear that nucleus of people are like, they have ties to the team, and it's clear they want to be there. They didn't have Patrick didn't have to take this job. He wasn't like a struggling, he's got a hell of a head of hair,
Oh, yeah, he's a good looking
He's a
dude.
gorgeous dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he and Lundqvist, god damn, they're good
Right.
looking dudes. Anyway, what are we talking about again?
Getting all hot and bothered here.
Sheesh.
Goodness.
Good looking front office right there.
No, and I think kind of leads us into the next topic in regards to like younger players. There's some qualifying offers that were given out as well. Hoagie's got the list, so I'm going to let him rattle off the names that did get qualifying offers. We'll talk about them, and then we'll get to the ones that did not.
Yes. Forwards, we got Noah Cates, Morgan Frost, Ollie Lixell, and everybody's favorite defenseman, Ronnie Addard and Cam York.
So quite a list of names there. And I don't think there's one that might come as a shock to me, but like everybody else, I kind of figured would at the very least get a qualifying offer. Does that sound accurate for you guys?
Who's your shock?
Yeah,
My shock's like Sal.
yeah.
Like it could have went either way for me. If he wouldn't have gotten one, no skin off my back, but he
I
got one.
wouldn't say it's
Good
a
for him.
shock though. I'm not like, oh my god.
Maybe
It's like,
shock.
okay.
Yeah. Might not be the bet. That's probably the one that could have gone either way that I wouldn't have been.
He
wouldn't have
impressed
cared.
in Lehigh Valley, I think, last year.
He did,
and
he spent a little bit of time up with the Flyers too, and I think he played all right. But like compared to the other names, your Morgan Frost,
Sure.
your
Well,
Cates,
the other ones you're going to need like an actual extension. Like you could see someone like Zell just accept the qualifying offer eventually,
right? Yeah,
but
your Yorks, they're going to need a deal. Your Cates, you better lock him up soon. Like, it doesn't need to be anything crazy, but
let's talk about that then. I mean, like I would say it's Frost, York, and Cates are the ones who are going to have like legitimate extensions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you guys think about those? Like, let's start with one. Let's start with probably Morgan Frost.
Start with Frost, yeah.
I'll answer that with a question of my own. Has he done enough to garner more than like a 2-year deal?
To me, it's a bridge.
Yeah.
See, I think you gotta understand that I do think the three of them have done enough to warrant a deal. Now, is it a ridiculous deal? No, but this is where you need to make some calculated moves. It's like you could lock these guys up if you really believe in them, and I think like Cates is the easiest one. I think that like at least I believe in, and then probably York. But Frost, like he had a good season. Like, do you lock them up to 4-year, $2 million deals?
Well, the way that I look at it, Casey, is that like Morgan Frost, if he's smart to accept a bridge deal, like he's not going to take a long-term deal because his ceiling could go higher, right?
Right.
You look at somebody like Cates, where it's like most likely this is the player he's going to be with maybe a little bit more offensive production, where it's like try to lock him up as long as you can,
right?
Understanding that that's probably the player that you have.
But I think this is what you're hoping for with homegrown talent is that like you can get them for a duration on a nice, pretty penny. And that's how we get out of cap hell, which we've been in for the last 10 years.
Right. Now, can you persuade him though to take a longer deal without having to shell out too much per year? I guess would be my question for general. Let's just speak specifically to Cates.
I mean, with Patrick Sharp walking in the room and giving him a wink, certainly.
Next time you have to share a hotel with him on the road.
Sheesh.
Well, I think if you look at, I think Cates is the easiest one to say that like you're not going to break the bank for a player like him. I think like I don't want to go too far and try. I'm not good at projecting numbers, but if it's like $3 to $4 million a year for 8
like a
years,
Scott Lawton type deal, number wise,
right?
Like
to
wise.
me, that's you lock that up because I think that's a fair deal for him considering what the player he's going to be, and you also now have him under control for a really long time.
Yep.
With York and Frost, I think it's different because I think that, again, their ceiling is higher. It's all about whether or not they reach that ceiling. So I think they're going to both get 2 to 3 year deals. I don't even know what number it would look like though.
Yeah,
3 something a piece, like
maybe.
I don't know.
I mean,
Like, I
Ross
think,
was 800,000 last year, so he's definitely going to warrant a pay raise.
right.
Yeah. No, but out of all the
can't
other
live on
guys,
that.
no, of course not.
Right.
Out of all those guys, though, like I think we can agree, York is probably going to get the most per year, like in my opinion, at least.
Could he get like a Sanheim bridge? Remember that deal that
Like 4.5 or something like that per year.
Mhm.
what was
I
that?
could see it.
3 seasons?
Dude,
2 or 3 seasons?
I think it was.
I think this is
2.
this is yet another example, at least in my opinion, where Chuck's freaking Sanheim deal, which makes 0 sense to this day. Like, how does York not be like, hey, hold on, I'm playing first pairing minutes,
Right.
and I'm younger, I have a higher upside. Like, I don't think he's gonna get that much. God, I hope he doesn't get that much.
No.
But like, I think he can use that as a negotiating chip. Be like, your golden boy over here is backing me up.
He hasn't even
Right.
played a full season in the NHL yet, though.
Right.
True.
Like
Fair point.
That's the counterpoint, right?
right.
Yeah. Anybody that comes with that, they're going to be like, no, you haven't played a full season. You don't get paid like that.
I think he's. I'm sorry, Derek. Go ahead.
You're good. You're good now.
I think that it's going to be one of those situations where York is like, I'll take a 2-year deal, and Philly's like, let's give me another year, like a 3-year bridge, because he's going to be like, in 2 years I can probably make much more.
Right.
Right. And we 2 years closer to Sanheim's deal expiring. I mean, what's your take? What do you think, Hoagie?
I think Cam York's probably on 3 years. Frost, I think, is probably 4, maybe. I don't know. Cates, I can't see them bargaining too much into length of contract. I think they want to still, home grow, keep growing him in their house, and then still use him as a trade chip going forward, maybe after the 3rd year or so. You never know.
Yeah. You
I
think
don't know.
they're viewing him as a trade
You
chip?
could
Are you
possibly.
Yeah, of
If
course you could, but like they're not
Listen.
looking at him and going like, let's keep him for 3 more years and trade him.
You could.
No,
Cheap deal
because
players.
that's exactly
These
when
are
the
luggage.
rebuild should be hitting like
Right.
a
Yeah.
gear. I don't know
Yeah,
what
right.
gear,
Hopefully.
but a gear.
Yeah, first. Still.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're looking at someone like Cates is like, okay, he's our piece here for
Right.
the foreseeable future. And
He's a pillar.
yeah.
Yeah. To an extent, I guess you could
Well,
say.
you can be a pillar and not be like an offensive dynamo. I mean,
Right. Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
I also kind of it all depends with the case on where they see other players. Because if we still have Lawton, I don't think he's got to push Lawton out of the way. And I think Lawton is on the block. I think they're definitely listening in on him. But I mean, if Lawton goes, then yeah, throw your money at him.
I don't
and
think
keep
that
him in there.
necessarily pushes Lawton aside. I mean, that might
Well,
just
no.
move him to the wing. Like you've
Right.
got Cates and Lawton maybe on the same line, third line, let's say. One of them plays wing, interchangeable at that point. You could put
Right.
either of them on the wing.
I still think we're like there's like fan confusion on what a rebuild actually is. Like
Right.
a rebuild isn't okay, trade every single asset that we have. It's like we have this young core that kind of emerged last year, and those 3 guys, in my opinion, are 3 of the vital pieces of that core. And you got to hold on to that because one, you still need to be competitive. You need to continue to grow, but it's like those are the guys that when they're hitting their prime, you want them. You want
you want to
them.
be
Yep.
out of the
You
rebuild
can't-
at that
you can't
point.
just-
Yep.
Yeah, you can't just keep like trade them draft picks. It, like
Right.
at some point, you got to friggin' play a hand.
Right.
And
I mean, it worked for Arizona.
yeah, it's
Something like
fun,
that.
packed house every night over there.
Right.
I think the one guy we're
Mullet
forgetting about
arena.
here, Ronnie Adder. I mean, do you see any chance of him negotiating some sort of contract aside from just the qualifying offer?
I don't think he can.
I don't think
No.
you can either.
He went to
No,
arbitration last year, guys.
No, he
Did he really?
Yep. Or 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
He signed in 2021 or 2022, excuse me.
So what is he? What is he? What's a qualifying offer for him? Is it like the league minimum? I assume.
It's got to be like what 750, 800K. I can't.
I mean,
it's eight
his
something
last
probably.
his last cap hit was 883.
So it's got to be like, what is it, 10% higher or something
Probably
like that?
like it's probably like
110%.
900.
I mean, yeah, well,
Something.
he's not making $1 million. The guy,
No way. For him to flip flop between the AHL and the NHL, no way.
right.
Well, it's also you're not busting the 7-figure mark on that.
Right.
No,
But also,
absolutely.
like, I don't know. I'm so confused with our defense. I don't want to keep harping on this, but I'm a lost little puppy without Provorov right now. I don't know what we're gonna be. Who do I go to hump the leg here?
Yeah.
Oh boy. And so yeah, I mean, decent group there. I think Frost gets locked up probably at least 3-4 years. I think Cates is your priority. I think you should make Cates a priority. I think it goes 6 years.
Yeah.
There's no way he gets 6 years.
No thing.
Why not?
I don't think he gets anything more than like 4. I really just don't.
Can I ask what you're basing that off of, though? Like,
I think, and my main train of thought here is that when you see big extensions getting inked with these young players, you're typically seeing the elite players get those types of extensions. Your Braden Points, your Kucherovs, like, and I'm just naming lightning. I mean, Christ, Matthews, like, I mean, those types of players are the ones that are going to get the big extensions coming right out of your rookie deal. Noah Cates is not nearly on that level. Not to say that they don't value him, and I don't think that, anything under 4 or 5 years is a slap in the face to him. I mean, players like him, as much as it kind of sucks to say, are interchangeable.
it's interesting because I'm viewing this completely opposite than you. If I'm the Flyers, I want to lock him up long term.
100%.
Because to me, the dollar value now, if you can keep that for a very long period of time, he's not going to be paid a lot. So let's just say $3 million, right?
Okay.
Just for the hell of it, right? You sign him for 6 years at $3 million, right?
Okay.
Okay, I paid for that player. If I get more than that, that's awesome, but it's very unlikely. But I'm happy enough to pay that $3 million.
But then what happens if he drops off? That's my question, because I don't think we've seen him plateau, but I think we've seen him at a point where he's closer to that than he is on the bottom out.
So then you're paying $3 million for a fourth liner and a penalty killer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. If you think about his trajectory, like, he was playing top line minutes the majority of the time. Like, what if he drops down to the second or third line, and where he probably should be
on the Flyers?
Right.
Come on now. On a team like the Flyers last season. No,
And
I get your point.
And he played wing.
And he played center. Like,
Right.
I think the difference, Derek, in what you're talking about with those big names is they got extensions with big money too, right? And
Absolutely,
then I don't think this is big money at all. And that's the benefit
No.
of doing 6 years. Like, dude, we'll lock you up for 6 years for $2.5-3 billion. Like,
But I think my point is, like, I don't want to necessarily say these types of players are replaceable, but like they kind of are. So like your Lautens, you've already got a Laughton. Now you've got a Noah Cates. Like every team has one or two. Every team usually has one or two, and there's usually another wave coming right up the next year or two. So locking yourself into a guy like Noah Cates, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that if he's already gotten to or right around where he's going to be and isn't going to get much better, I feel like there's more of a risk of him dropping off, and then you're stuck paying, a fourth liner / 13th forward $3 million to either.
I don't know why you're thinking he's plateauing though, because I
never said he was plateauing. I didn't say he plateaued.
You said he's closer to plateauing. Am I misreading you?
Yeah, because how much better is he going to get?
Well, he has the defensive part of his game, but he has barely scathed the offensive aspect that could happen. And so
he's had no one to play with yet.
I'm thinking of him of 2011 Sean Couturier.
Right. And that's the
third line guy who
a lot of people
is never going to be an offensive dynamo, but
but he had, 3 consecutive 70-point seasons. Do we see Noah Cates as capable of doing that? Like, even if he were to make that next step, maybe the negativity's gotten to me. I don't know if I see him as a 70-point player.
Well, no, I mean, I don't either. But I also think that the thing is when you're dealing with a team, right, that's so much is going to be changing and there's so much uncertainty with a rebuild, like the fact that you kind of can count on having him, they're not going to go like, well, what if he falls off? Because that you could apply that to almost everybody and you wouldn't sign anybody for long term. But like
that's fair.
Sandheim.
So to me, it's more like, okay, if we commit this amount of years to this player, we have this, we don't have to worry about this part anymore. So like the only way that this isn't a long-term deal is if Noah Cates thinks that he should get a bridge deal because he thinks
doesn't
there's
want
more offensively. Yeah, or he doesn't want to be here.
I mean, I could see more than likely a world in which Noah Cates is like, I'm not going to sign a 6-7 year deal.
Right.
I could see that. So like, I'm okay with a 3 or 4 year deal. Like that's fine with me. I'd be more than comfortable with that. It's just those long-term deals for players like him. I'm a bit more cautious about than I am if it was going to be a player that's a top tier type player.
Yeah, isn't it nice that we don't have to talk about that? It's like a top tier contract.
No, it's not nice, damn it.
Isn't it nice we can spend 20 minutes on the length of Noah Cates' contract?
Right? Any other team, a fan of that team listens and they're like, who's Noah Cates? All right, so let's jump over to the players that then did not get qualifying offers. So Hoagie, you pull that page back up.
Evan Barrett. And same thing. I'm pretty sure I had a goaltender in middle school hockey named Evan Barrett. And Kiefer Bellows and Wyatt Wiley.
Any surprises, fellas?
No. I'm glad they didn't roll the dice with Bellows again. That guy was a putt.
I mean, he couldn't even stay on that roster.
Right.
Yeah.
I said it when
they
signed him. I was like, no, don't do this.
It's worth a shot, though. It's the right season to do something like that. Try a reclamation project on the fly. Well, why not?
Right. We literally just had a player quit. We had a player quit in the middle.
What was his name?
I'm going back to Poland or wherever it was.
What was his name? I can't remember.
Sedlak.
Yeah.
Sedlak. Yeah, literally quit on us. Quit on the team. Throwing the lights out. Nope, no more.
And Tortorella was like, I want that guy. Get that guy off of waivers.
Right. Then he's like, nope, I don't want to play for that guy.
He sat down and had a steak with Chuck and was like, you know what? This was just a stupid idea.
Just sign my passport. I'm getting out of here. All right. Last bit of news that came out along with all of this is that the contract of Ivan Fedotov was told for another year, which basically means it's like a rollover. They don't they recoup what they had to pay him, and it just lengthens the same term of contract. It basically nullifies last year is the best way to put it, I guess. So raises some interesting scenarios here, given the fact that we also got Cal Peterson from the Kings in the Provorov deal. I mean, guys, am I being too optimistic if I think this is a good sign?
No, clearly not. You're never being optimistic.
You're not wrong, but like, I just like if they're going to toll it now, it could just be the de facto like, okay, we don't want to pay him until he's actually playing, and if he ever does play, you can only toll it. I think twice is what they said, if I'm not mistaken. So like they're just going to keep kicking the can down the alleyway until they have to suck it up and take the hit.
So before we go any further with this conversation, so does this mean technically that he's like signed for this upcoming season? So technically he should be making his way to North America in August?
Yeah. It was a 2-year deal, correct? That he signed?
I believe so.
Yeah. So he's still signed then for this upcoming season and next.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when he doesn't come to North America,
they can toll it one more time and then they're shit out of luck. Yeah. Right. I'm not hopeful. Like I will believe it when I see it.
No, doesn't he play for the military team?
Oh yeah, but his service is up. His service is up. And his service was up last year too.
Sure.
Actually, it's just a 1-year deal. So.
Oh, it's a 1-year deal. Okay.
Great. Okay.
So if they know he's not coming over, that raises a different point for me. Like if they knew he wasn't coming over, why would you toll it? You just eat it and let it go, and that's that.
Well, I mean, to me, it seems like there's no risk, like no harm, no foul. Like if he doesn't come over, they don't have to pay it.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell to make of this. I'm just as befuddled as I was last year.
I mean, I will give this a 10% chance that we ever see Ivan Fedotov in a North American hockey arena. Like I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. And the thing is he's going to come over and be like, oh my God. And then he's going to get lit up for like 9 goals.
Well, just time to enlist again.
Ivan Provorov. I mean, not Ivan Provorov. Wrong Ivan. Ivan Fedotov goes to Reading.
Right.
I left Russia for this.
What is interesting is since his contract was told, he becomes a UFA since he'll be 27 years of age when it expires.
Good
And
point.
then he goes to the Capitals.
Now, none of you dipshits would know the answer to this, but I'm going to pose it anyway. The fact that the Flyers were over the cap last year and paid those cap penalties, would the fact that Fedotov's contract counted towards that impact that? Like, would there be some sort of like, oh no, like now that it's been told, you don't owe us any money? I don't know.
I don't think it matters at this point. We were so far over it. Who cares?
Right.
Yeah, his contract was what, like 800 something? I can't remember.
His AAV is 1.1. His cap is 925. That's nothing.
So what? How much were we over? I guess would be my question.
I thought we were over by $1 million. It was
Way more than
right there. Damn.
No, I think it was literally like we were like just over the cap.
I thought it was
Okay.
way more than 925. I don't know.
Damn, that would be interesting. Like that'd be an interesting question for somebody who knows the cap and like knows the rules of the league, unlike us.
Right.
Surprised John didn't butt in
We know
on that
something.
one.
What's Gritty wearing today? That's our focus of the conversation.
What color is Gritty's belly button? So percentage chances. Matt Casey said 10. John
1.
Hoagie
Be optimistic. 15%.
15. That's optimistic.
Something like that.
1-0.
Wow.
It's the
I'm
pessimist.
surprised you didn't go 9. You didn't price this right me. You're like 9%.
Or like we draft Mitchkov and then there's all of a sudden there's a plan.
Right.
Danny Briere's coming in with his ski mask.
Come on.
So apparently, though, there's been a couple teams that have been interested in meeting with Michkov face to face, and the Flyers are one of them.
Good
Right.
segue.
Are we surprised?
No.
Neither am I.
No
Anyways,
way.
stupid question. But regardless, is there the way we'll get into the draft here? Obviously, that's where we're heading next. So Flyers picking 7, also at 22. The fact that they just got another first round pick. I'll go to you, John, because you're our draft guy. You're the prospect guy. Maybe not draft guy. You're a prospect guy. You know more about it than we do. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Do you think having that
What's the
second
prospect?
first round pick alters what they do with the first pick in the first round?
No.
No.
I mean, I still think that they're going to go best player available according to them. I mean, I think that like you could spin the narrative and be like, if Mitchkov's available at 7, are you now more comfortable taking him with the idea that you have another first round pick? But I feel like a team that is going to take him is comfortable taking him regardless.
Right.
So I don't really think it changes anything.
Okay.
I just think they feel like, okay, well, thank God, because we don't have a second round pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. They could have absolutely used that second round pick. Matt Casey.
I still think you got to be cautious with it. I don't know. There's so many X factors with any of these guys making the league, you know, with maybe, you know, Bedard and Fantilli exceptions, but like anything could happen. I was listening to, you know, some of the height and weight. They were talking about, I'm trying to remember who Meltzer and Martinez were talking about today, but they were like, yeah, this guy's 160 pounds. I'm like, dude, what? Like, are you 13? Like, what the hell? And so, like, it just kind of reminds you, like, how far some of these guys, like, have to go.
Right.
And I just don't think we're in a place where, like, you can putz around and miss on draft picks in, you know, in first round draft picks in a deep draft.
Right.
Now, look, maybe Danny B has some bigger stones than I do. And, you know, he does go after him at 7 if he's still available. And, like, maybe it's a great move. But, you know, you have that insurance at 22, but I just feel like why add another X factor into an already ridiculously uncertain like art of drafting, which never it's totally unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. All right, Hoagie.
I think they're taking the swing and taking Mitchkov at 7 at this point. I think if he's best player available at that spot.
Question you asked? I thought you were asking if it just changed the way they were.
I did,
doing
but
it.
I mean,
Okay.
we were
All
kind of
You've
getting
gone
into
very-
that. It's a
okay.
decent segue.
All right. That's fair enough. Okay.
But I mean, I think it does change their thinking because they have that insurance at number 22. It's a deep draft. Why not take the swing at 7 and draft a player that could be here in 2-3 years? Before when we just had the solid 7 pick, I was like, I wouldn't want to take that gamble. But now that we have that insurance, I'd take it.
It could be a decent tone setter too for Briere. Like if you see him take Michkov if he's available at 7, like he's got some stones, like Casey said.
Yeah.
If he doesn't and he goes the safe route, then it's like I don't want to say there's some hesitation, but I'm kind of like, man, are we gonna fall back into being more safe than taking the risks? Well, we've already seen the risks in terms of dealing Provorov too. So like you might see a balance, you might see the scale just completely tip the one way. I don't know. In terms of if he's available, like I personally, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with it, honestly. But at the same rate, he's supposedly going to be at the draft. He's supposedly going to be a part of the draft in the States. To me, it's like that guy wants to be here.
Right.
So that should quelch some of the questions surrounding whether or not he's going to play in the NHL at some point when his contract's up in Russia.
Here's the thing, though. Like, obviously, this is an interesting conversation to be had, but it truly is just a bunch of people having an interesting conversation. I'd be shocked.
Is that what this podcast is like?
Yeah, but I'd be shocked if he makes it past pick 5.
Yeah.
He's that good where I think like this is just a lot of extra hype that we're having this conversation where he's going to get selected where he most likely should be selected, and he's definitely not making it past the Coyotes. Who the hell cares if they've got to wait another 8 years?
They'll be in
8 years
at that point.
Yeah, they'll be somewhere outside of Arizona.
I don't want to take credit for this. I think I heard it on 32 Thoughts, but they said even if you're not confident that Michkov will come to your team, because I guess there's been there's been conversations about like how he's trying to posture himself to other organizations. Wouldn't it behoove you to just draft him and then use him as trade capital?
Makes sense.
I mean, obviously not for every team. Like that wouldn't be useful for a team like the Flyers.
Right.
But I'm sure there are some teams where it's like if you take him and he doesn't come, you can still trade him.
Trade his rights, right?
Yeah.
I can see the Sharks or somebody like that doing that.
Or the Coyotes.
Yeah, or the Coyotes.
How much are his rights going to be worth? Like that's the thing, because if there's still uncertainty surrounding whether he's ever going to come over to North America, who's going to want to roll the dice on that?
But if there's still expressed interest from Michkov to come play in the NHL,
right?
Teams are going to know, and they're going to want to give up something. It's not going to be like a haul, but it's going to be.
Your ex-girlfriend could tell you she wants to come back, but she's still banging the other dude. Like that. Come on,
you're
going to take her back.
References like that a lot. I'm getting a little worried.
I'm married now. I'm good. Just prior experiences.
Hold on. Let me grab my hair doll real quick.
No, I don't know. I don't see the value being reciprocated there, because you're drafting him, let's say 4 or 5 overall. Like you're not going to get the return. Like you never were.
But I don't think you're drafting him thinking you're going to trade him. But I think that like a consolation to it is like worst case scenario.
Right.
Sure.
I wonder, like, how much of this I'd be interested to hear what other like kind of unofficial team podcasts think of, a top 7 team who's drafting. Are we just so warped because of the Fedotov thing? Or
absolutely.
Or are other teams actually feeling?
No, this is. I mean, the national people talk about this too.
They do. But like we're jaded towards it because it's happened to us with Feta
Sure.
Top. Like it's happened to Flyers fans with Feta Top.
It's fresh.
Yeah, the Canadians aren't like,
need
oh,
something to complain about. They're like, oh, here we go again.
another Russian kid, you know.
Right.
But then there's other teams where it's like I think the conversation's probably different. Like if you're talking about Columbus or San Jose or Arizona, their conversation around Mitchkov is like, would he want to come here?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know, where it's like if we draft him, is he going to come here? Because
Columbus just got programmed. He's coming no matter what.
He dictates his future here. Like he could
Right.
posture, like John had said, and just say no. Like if you draft me, I'm not coming over. You know, and then you're stuck. You just wasted your first round pick up in the top 5, likely. And it's like, what are you going to do? And then you're like, oh, I got to sell him off. But the other teams know he's not going to come over to play with you. So then they can lowball you, get a shit offer for it, and boom, you just made out with one of the best players in a loaded draft, and you paid probably pennies on the dollar for him.
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So forgetting Mitchkov for a second, like, you know, obviously you have 1 and 2 with Bedard and Fantilli. And then, I mean, you have this kind of like 3 through what? 12, 3 through 10.
Right.
You're like,
it could be
where's
anybody.
it gonna go? And so I don't know. Like, I'm very interested to see how things end up landing because I don't know.
Just pick forward. In my mind, like don't go D. I still think that the best defenseman isn't as good as the 7th best forward.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk right now, just like from surfing Twitter, that Benson is really climbing up the boards, which could push a guy down.
He's the
160
160
pounder. Yeah.
That's the guy. Yeah. I let some of the guys that are like maybe on the cusp of like a top 10 pick, let them slide up the board and have what was it? Chinakov or whatever. Someone took him, or was it the Devils took someone complete shit? I can't remember who.
Oh yeah, Shamoka Hoka Doolin or something.
Yeah,
along those
just like completely swung on that. Like, and everybody's like, "Who the hell
just
is
do
this
a
guy?"
ritual.
We've all been hexed by John.
It was something like that. Shamoka Hoka Doolin.
But like, I mean, I think we're too far up in the draft for that to happen in the top 7. But it could. Like, I don't know.
I want the guy because I don't think it's going to be Will Smith. I think he'll be taken, but I think it's Leonard, the other one who's going
Ryan
to
Leonard.
BC.
Ryan Leonard. Yep.
Like I want him to go to BC and be with Cutter. Like
And just
that
have
sounds
him
great.
Absolutely tear it up.
Yeah.
I'm up
Why
for
not?
it. Get the boys together.
It seems like there are just a bunch of picks where it's like I don't want to say you can't go wrong, but I think that there are at least 3 or 4 quality selections here.
Right.
You know,
I'd like to say you can't go wrong with 7, but we'll find a way. But
This
I
is
don't
a
know.
new
we're
era.
gonna draft Kahuma Doolin.
I'm
Guys.
also interested to see like who we take at 22 because that's not
Right.
that's not terrible either. And I'd be comfortable if there was a top 2 or 3 defenseman at 22. Like,
Right.
go for it.
You're
Yeah,
ultimately going to see them slide. I mean, because of a mass amount of forwards that are in the draft. So I mean, yeah,
Still don't
you
go
could get
based on need, but like I think
Right.
that's when they start thinking about defensemen,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
because your next pick isn't until the 3rd round.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I mean, you gotta get something there of value to the team. So I mean, who's to say a defenseman doesn't slide? That'd be great. You know, pick him up, fantastic. If not, best player available, like you should.
Is there a world? Like I know that this is a conversation that everybody's going to have, but is there a world where the Flyers can move up? Like
Certainly.
You literally took the words right out of my mouth, John. Swear to God. I was about to ask it.
Like from 7 or from 22?
From
7.
taking 7 and 22 and putting them together, or saying 7 and one of next year's drafts to move. Like it's not that I don't think the Flyers won't want to move up. I wonder if there's any team there that like would be comfortable
Moving back.
doing that, moving back.
I don't know.
I
I have a tough time believing that, like, again, because this draft is so deep that, like, if you're in the top 10, you're gonna get someone good.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, I mean, they better be damn well sure
Right.
of
It's
themselves
a
if they're
risk.
doing that. Yeah.
It's big risk.
Even then, I don't think they're getting in the top 3. Like they might get 4th
Right.
at best, and even
Right.
then, it's like,
And then why at that point?
Right.
yeah, exactly. Because then you've got a mishmash of guys that are going to probably end up being pretty solid NHL players.
Right.
Mhm.
It's not like Anaheim is going to move on from their pick.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Columbus is number 3, right?
Columbus
Yep.
is 3.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah.
calling up Cat or what's his name?
Hayes.
Capo Caco.
This is where the Hayes thing comes in.
Yeah,
Hayes
Hayes is number
straight
7
up.
for number 3. I could definitely see them.
Like,
pulling
hey,
that
we'll
garbage.
retain 75% of his
Right.
We'll
contract
pay his whole contract.
and give you the 7th overall pick for number 3.
I could. Doesn't
gonna say
Columbus
no?
also have multiple first rounders as well?
I don't know if they do or not.
I haven't been
Maybe.
keeping track of Columbus's draft capital.
Thought they had a pick from somebody else from a trade.
It could.
Well, yeah, Gavrikov probably, right? Wasn't that the defenseman that was just traded, him and Korpisalo? LA.
Think
Just kidding, I lied. They only
no.
have one first rounder.
Well, didn't we
Oh.
just take theirs? Or was that did we
We
take
took LA's.
LA's?
We had LA's, yeah. Yep. I'm all right with that. I can live with
Yep.
that. Yeah. All right, fellas. Anything else we want to touch on in regards to the draft here before we wrap things up?
No, I'm looking
I mean-
forward to a little trade action.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Trade.
do you think by the time we talk next, I would assume we're gonna try to talk one more time before the draft starts. Do you think another deal happens? And
I don't know. I don't think so.
Deal's going to happen during the draft.
Yeah, I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be Thursday.
We're at that point. Yeah, they're saving that.
is anybody getting a little concerned about the Kevin Hayes thing?
No,
Nah.
no.
Because okay, well, I'll take that and make me feel a little bit better. But like I've heard that Columbus might be going in a different direction.
I have heard that or seen something about it. But I
Another
still think
team.
he's gone. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I was just like thinking through that and going, God, could you imagine if we can't move his deal?
I mean, would you be surprised?
Yeah,
No.
We did. I mean,
yeah.
we're
We
out.
just looked through the JVR thing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't imagine that.
We just got out from JVR. We
Well,
just
that was-
also unloaded Provorov, and yes, it kind of canceled out in regards to the contracts that we got back. But like, I don't think it's the end of the world if we can't move on from Hayes. But absolutely, I want to.
I bet Hayes thinks it's the end of the world. He's like, no,
I
don't
just got
do
another
that.
season here. This is bullshit.
Got to take his house off the market. Poor guy.
Like, never mind. So I'm staying. All right.
Torts is like, Hayes, why don't you just post up in the team hotel? We'll get back.
We'll
get
call
back
you
to
when
this
we
after.
need
Call you
you.
when
No,
we
they
need
give
you.
him a new job as one of those guys in the suits with Gritty.
Yeah,
And then,
Entourage.
but still refuses to hustle when they have to chase him.
just trailing behind, like, God damn it. All right. Hoagie, let everybody know where they're going to find you, man.
Pod Street Hogs on the Twitter app.
Beautiful. And Casey.
Pod Street Casey, street spelled out and Casey. That's Pod Street Casey on Twitter.
And John.
Yeah, you can find this podcast and listen to it. It'd be great.
Be great.
Be huge.
Love the enthusiasm.
I just am getting tired of that. They're listening to this. Like, why do I got to tell them where to find it?
Because, man, for the people that might be watching on YouTube that want to listen to it later, that might have caught us halfway through.
All right. Well, I mean, if they're watching this on YouTube, it's because they're just not into podcasts.
Yeah,
Because
like, who's
who wants to watch us talk?
I've been doing it for 4 years now.
I mean, I love watching.
Just
you
watching
talk.
John talk.
Yeah,
But-
I'm not surprised.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at PodStreet Bob. John's on Twitter at PodStreet Gove. All of us are on Twitter at Pod Bullies. And until next week,
Ooh,
draft week, baby.
they're
What's
definitely announcing the New Jersey tomorrow. They just tweeted about it.
They're announcing the New Jersey tomorrow. There we go. Any guesses?
rainbow? Pure rainbow.
Now that Provorov's gone.
Bye now.
What a way to end the episode.